You're listening to the Truck Talk with Trivista podcast, brought to you by TrivistaCompanies.com, the ultimate source for all things trucking, and sponsored by Shireman Construction in Corydon, Indiana. Generations of craftsmanship built into everything they do. I'm Anita Massey, Director of Marketing for Trivista Companies. Thanks for joining us. Today our topic is vehicle performance, fuel economy. When efficiency drives your business, you look for every possible way to reduce costs, and the biggest cost is fuel. It's estimated that 20,500 gallons of diesel fuel are used each year per commercial truck, versus only 500 gallons per standard car. A commercial truck can easily consume more than $70,000 worth of diesel fuel per year. The average per mile operating cost for the trucking industry is $1.38. And the average total yearly cost of operating a commercial truck is $180,000. That's a lot of money. And today we're going to be joined by Aaron Peterson, Chief Performance Engineer for Navistar, to help us understand this complex topic. Aaron has been with Navistar for 17 years and spends a great deal of his time traveling around to each of the international dealerships throughout the United States. We'll be discussing the industry's current technologies from the OEM perspective as they relate to fuel economy and driver comfort. Aaron, why don't we start by having you introduce yourself and telling our listeners a little bit about your background and what it is you do for Navistar.
Thanks, Anita. Happy to join you today on the podcast. As you said, I've been with Navistar for about 17 and a half years, and I got my start as a cooling system engineer on the 7000 series product platform. From there, I've progressed into managing relationships with the engine manufacturers, Caterpillar and Cummins, as well as our own diesel engine manufacturing plants. I've installed engines into multiple products across our product lines for the past 10 years, and the last 8 years have been spent developing a group called the Performance Engineering Group. And our focus is on maximizing fuel economy, delivering excellent powertrain performance, driver quality, acceptance of the products, as well as reducing weight and driving overall fuel efficiency gains and freight efficiency gains for our customers.
Wow, that's really interesting. I'm interested to learn more myself. I know weight is always a big issue for our customers. It seems like our salesmen are always trying to find the best way to order the least amount of weight in the truck, so I'm really interested to hear more about that. Why don't we just dive into today's topic by maybe starting out with identifying the various costs that are associated with owning a truck, and then we'll zero in on fuel economy and vehicle performance.
Sure. In my travels, as I meet with different customers, I get a lot of input as far as what their pain points are in the total cost of operating a truck. I mean, obviously, drivers are a big focus in today's market. Their salaries are not getting any smaller. You've got the cost of the products themselves, so the trucks, the trailers, the equipment that's used to move the freight has not gotten any less expensive in the past several years. Repair and maintenance costs, those are the focus of a lot of the energy within a fleet, within the dealership, the dealer organizations that support them. Then there's also things like insurance, permits and licenses, tolls, all of those things that fleets need to contend with in moving freight across the nation. When you start looking at fuel, though, that is the largest part of running a truck, the largest cost of running a truck. People don't understand it, but it's frequently over 60% of the total cost of running a vehicle.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that high.
Yeah, it can be a pretty significant burden on most fleets. So there's typically a lot of interest from our customers to hear about, the latest and greatest in fuel economy technologies. It's a very rapidly changing field, and I think that, all OEMs have something to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's zero in on Navistar, though. How is Navistar delivering fuel efficiency with driver comfort in mind? Are they doing things like engine off heating and cooling, or can you talk about that?
Sure. Again, the focus on keeping drivers comfortable, while they're out on the road. during their off time, right? With hours of service, drivers tend to have a little bit more off time than what they previously had. So it is important that we keep their well-being in mind. And as far as Navistar goes, we do offer several different options for keeping drivers comfortable. It can be something as simple as just an idle shutdown timer, that you can program the length of time that you want a truck to run. We have the ability to modify that based on ambient conditions outside. So as the temperature increases or as the temperature decreases, you can choose to allow the truck to idle. That's probably the simplest mechanism that we have for allowing drivers to be comfortable when it is very hot or very cold outside. We also then move into systems like fuel-fired heaters, which have been around for many years and have been incorporated into all vehicle OEMs platforms. I think there's been continued focus on auxiliary power units, and how those are integrated into vehicles. There's your traditional diesel systems, which have been around for quite some time, and then there are electric systems that are much quieter and tend to provide a little less disruption for the drivers as they're trying to sleep through the evenings. Many of these systems come with auto start-stop systems, where we will ask the primary engine to start and run for a specified period of time in order to recharge batteries, so that the air conditioning systems and the heating systems can continue to meet the driver's needs.
And I guess all of that technology then, thinking from the dealership perspective, that all requires additional training here at each dealership so that our service techs know how to work on all of that new technology that goes into each truck.
Absolutely. And there are some benefits with going with an OEM supplied source, as it's included in all the service and maintenance literature that we publish, that we provide the training on to our dealer organizations. Some of the aftermarket solutions, the dealers need to lean on those retailers for their products information.
And then what are some of the other things that might affect fuel economy on a truck?
Well, the single largest factor in delivering great fuel economy is aerodynamic drag. That's something that's been talked about at length in the industry. It's hard to pick up one of the publications that are put out and discussing trucking that there isn't something to do with aerodynamics. And there is a reason, and that is because it is number one on the consumer of fuel energy.
Does the aerodynamics come into play even at like slower speeds, or is it only when they're driving full speed down the highway?
That's a great question. A lot of fleets feel like, slower speed. My truck is a city truck. It very seldom gets over 35 or 40 miles an hour. Well, aerodynamic drag is a force as low as 20 miles an hour. So aero features begin to have effectiveness then. However, they become the most dominant player in reducing energy once the vehicle hits about 55 miles an hour. So 55 miles an hour and faster, aero devices are their most effective because they're attacking the largest part of the energy that's being consumed on the vehicle. But again, even a vehicle that has an average vehicle speed of 35 miles an hour spends a large part of their time at highway speeds. Many distribution centers that are being built outside of the cities, so that the truck, when it leaves to even go make its 10 or 12 or 15 stops during the day, it still has a sizable distance on highways, both to and from the distribution centers where they are traveling at highway speeds.
Right, good point. So then what you do for Navistar is work in the overall engineering and design of the truck itself to improve the aerodynamics?
That's how my career started. My career has morphed over the last about 8 years. I spend every week in the field working with customers, working with dealers, helping them to sort through all of the information that's being produced, on the new technologies that are entering the market. Not all technologies work the same for every customer. Some will provide more benefit in, hilly terrain. Others, when they are focused on the long haul, right? Aerodynamics are key. But even climates, certain technologies are more beneficial when it is cold outside, as opposed to, those customers that run typically in the southern tier of the states. So there's a level of understanding that I try to bring to our customers, to everybody that's running trucks, that not all technologies are the same. They all carry a little different benefit. However, they really should explore them all and understand how they fit their needs. The other side of my job, though, is to listen, and that's really where I spend the most of my time, is listening to customers' needs. What is working? What is not working? They don't know that I'm necessarily listening, but it's with their guidance, their input, that we factor that into the technologies that we're selecting. What do we need? And as you kind of started this whole conversation, drivers have been a very heavy focus on keeping drivers happy while yet still delivering the best fuel economy that we can deliver.
Right, because you want to keep the driver happy and the owner happy as well. Fine balance there.
Correct.
So what about these new predictive powertrain systems that I'm hearing about entering the market? Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. So powertrain systems have been changing dramatically over the last 10 years. Automated transmissions have entered the markets. Most of the OEMs are over 80%, 85, approaching 90% of their build for Class 8 line haul products are utilizing automated manual transmissions. Those transmissions now, when you pair those with these engines that are becoming ever more advanced, there are a lot of conversations that are occurring between engines and transmissions, and they have been for years. However, they're at a much higher level today. We've brought in the ability for the truck now to know what the terrain looks like as it's moving down the highway. So through GPS, right, we have maps that are stored on the vehicles now. And so it's not the lefts and the rights that we're concerned about, it's the ups and the downs. So trucks now know what the road looks like in front of them. They know how heavy the load is, and therefore we're able to predict what the truck needs to be doing in order to cross the next several miles, 2, 3, 4 miles, in a very efficient fashion.
So if the truck senses that there's a steep incline coming ahead in the next half a mile to a mile, it starts adjusting things within the transmission to either downshift to get up the hill more efficiently?
It's exactly what it does. So we know how heavy the truck is, we know how steep the hill is, we know how long the hill is. We're able to calculate how fast the speed is going to drop on the vehicle, and then determine at which point on the hill we're going to need to make a shift. Now, in recent past, within the past couple of years, that technology has been available. Now, unfortunately, we've been responding as vehicle speed slows to make those downshifts, as you said. However, now with predictive technologies, we're going to be able to anticipate that, make a downshift earlier, not losing as much vehicle speed, maintaining, more of our speed going up a hill, and, getting the driver to destination a little bit quicker.
I see how that directly affects fuel economy, because if the driver is pushing the gas too much too soon, that's obviously going to suck the gas. And is all this done intelligently within the truck? So the driver's not really doing anything. This is all happening behind the scenes, so to speak.
That's the idea. When they get in the truck and they get it moving, and they initiate cruise control, that's when many of these systems are going to take effect.
Okay.
So when they're in cruise, the predictive logic becomes active, and we start doing our best, to deliver great fuel economy, but still maintain that drive comfort, that performance feel that drivers have come to expect over the years.
So you're saying this is happening only when cruise control is on. If it's not on, it's up to the driver to negotiate the upcoming hill.
Absolutely. And, at any time, drivers have the ability to override cruise control systems. But it's been our objective to minimize the number of times that a driver feels like they need to override the cruise control by depressing the accelerator pedal. So a lot of these controls that are being developed are focused on becoming more intuitive, meaning the truck is doing what the driver expects it to do at all times throughout the drive. So we're slowing down when it should be slowing down. We're speeding up when they think it should be speeding up. And so the truck is beginning to drive itself more like the driver used to drive the truck. And so they become much more comfortable, and they don't, like I said, they don't override. When a driver tends to override some of these control systems, that sacrifices fuel efficiency, and it can sacrifice fuel efficiency to a significant degree.
So what percentage of improvement in fuel efficiency does this new predictive technology provide?
So that is changing as we become more intelligent. The improvement grows. A couple of years ago, when we first launched it, it was about a 2% improvement in fuel efficiency, which, for an average fleet, a 1% improvement is somewhere in that $400 to $500 per percent per year range. So that's an $800 to $1,000 improvement. Today, because we've been able to bring some additional logic into play, we're upwards of as high as 4 and 5% type improvements. Now again, this is a technology that has benefits in certain areas of the country more so than others. Customers that are going to be driving, here in the southeast, you have a lot of short hilly terrain, short hills, but they're steep frequently, but they aren't very long poles. So vehicles have a tendency of being able to maintain speed on grade. Longer hills require, more frequent downshifts, but the predictive technology, we're trying to take advantage of of gravity, of what Mother Nature has given us, and we'll let it roll down the other side, build up a little bit more speed, going down the hills, so that as we approach the next hill, we've got a little bit more momentum.
And then I guess internally, then you take all of this data that you're gathering from the customers, and you work hand in hand with the engineers at Navistar to make all these design modifications to the trucks per year, right?
I'm one of the inputs.
You're one of the inputs.
Yeah, there are many inputs into selecting technologies and where we're going to focus our efforts moving forward. But drivers have been a key focus for us over the past several years. Both in cab comfort, but now with a lot of these powertrain system offerings, as well as some of the advanced driver assistance systems that have come to market. Okay, the collision mitigation systems that are there to take some of their anxiety away from the craziness that exists out on our highways. Keeping them safe. So those technologies are becoming more and more integrated into the total architecture of the vehicle, so that they too are becoming more intuitive for the driver to operate.
And what's the ultimate goal that Navistar would like to get to as far as fuel economy? I mean, if we're at 4 to 5 now, are they striving for a set number, or is it just continuing improvement each year?
For these predictive systems?
Mm-hmm.
No, fuel economy is, there is, I'm sure there is an end in sight, but I can't see it. Typically, we see about a 2 to 2.5% year-over-year improvement in fuel economy. That's been in place for about the last 20 years since I've been working for International. In recent years, we've seen some more significant gains. There have been 4%, 5%, 6% years. Some of the aerodynamic improvements that International announced at the North American North American Commercial Vehicle Conference in Atlanta. There are some significant aerodynamic improvements for both sleepers and day cabs.
Oh, wow, that's exciting.
Yeah, so the one thing I'd really like to encourage is, excuse me, those customers that are running day cabs, they frequently will not include aerodynamic devices on their tractors because they feel like their trucks aren't on the highways enough to take benefit. They're often home every night, which means they aren't really venturing too far from home during the day. But I will tell you that over 80% of the fuel that's consumed by a Class 8 day cab tractor is when they're at highway speeds. So even though they may only spend 25 to 30% of their day at those highway speeds, they're spending the vast majority of their fuel when they're moving down the highways.
That surprises me. I would not have thought that, so that's interesting.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Aaron, it looks like we're nearing our time for today. Is there anything else you'd like to add on this topic before we sign off?
The only thing I would say is if you've tried something in the past, don't be afraid to try it again. The technologies are changing, controls are improving, and if you didn't like it before, it doesn't mean that you won't like it today, and that it won't bring a positive result to your total cost of owning these trucks.
All right. Thanks again for giving us this great overview on vehicle performance and fuel economy. Certainly hoping our listeners have learned a few new tips and tricks that they didn't know before. I know I did. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of the Truck Talk with Trivista podcast. You can find more podcast talks or general information about Trivista Companies and its many dealerships at trivistacompanies.com. Until next time, be safe out there.